Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It is February 23rd, Friday. We are going to get started in just a few minutes. Frame rate is very low on my camera at the moment, but we're gonna roll with it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? The music is also very loud. Very, very loud. In just a few moments, we're gonna get started. Still pulling together some information. It does look like... actually, we'll pull it up here. Yes, nope. Okay. One second, my scenes are not. There we go. Boom, the desktop right here. So it looks like we do have a director's take for Overwatch, which is good. We're seeing a lot more communication from the developers, which is nice. But I'm a little bit worried, just a wee bit worried, that this communication is fuck you guys. Like, and that's probably one of the reasons why the original Blizzard developers... How's it going, Dostray? Welcome in, dude. I'm a little bit worried that communication just means more fuck you guys, we do what we want, instead of them not saying fuck you guys, we do what we want. And then yeah, why is my frame rate is so bloody low? We're gonna reset the camera, or maybe we yeah, one sec. There we go. A little bit better. Not the best, but it works. Duster says you don't know. You think they are listening to the player base. The problem is they listen to only the medal rank opinions. Don't get me wrong. They need to listen to the average player, but in terms of balance, it's more reliable to listen to the pros and top 500 players. Sort of. I'm going to give a quick little explanation on Paint. They've always... Well, the issue there that I'm pointing out is in the past, they usually didn't say anything and they did whatever they wanted, right? And they listened to the, obviously listened to the mass, but they, we just were roasting them for being not very communicative. But now, sort of, they're still not being very communicative. They're just being one directional in terms of conversation. They're just telling you what they're gonna do, as opposed to having like a, I don't know, a dialogue. But the also problem, and this is just like a statistics thing. Let's say you have a subset of people. Okay, well, let's use better color. So the vast majority of the player base are right here. And we're thinking about it in terms of skill. Okay. If we have this as the bar of skill. But this is the problem with Overwatch players. Skill is not how you judge updates for any game ever. Right? Skill has nothing to do with how you judge players. And this is our like blinders that we have in the Overwatch community, is we think everything is about skill and listening to skillful players, or we're listening to what level of skill you have. But what the average game company does playtime. Why? Well, if we take playtime actually goes like this. So this is no playtime, 0 playtime, and this is 1 billion hours. Okay, it's a log scale in a way. So the vast majority of people have 0 playtime. They have a little bit of playtime, and then it goes like this. Oops, I messed that up. And that's the issue here, is that we think, and the average player thinks that they're balancing based off of skill. They're not. They're balancing based off of playtime, because what they want to do and their goal, let's say, for example, this is the average amount of time it takes for someone to spend money. Is that the wrong way? No, it is the right way. Money. Okay. What they want to do is they want to push people over this barrier. So they want to slide this average to look more like this. Because the more people you get over the spending barrier, the more successful your game is. Dostry says in the actual model, if they get people to buy the battle pass, pay for 2 weeks, and never touch the game again, it's good for them. Exactly. Exactly. So if you can take this curve and move it like this, and then drop the game off like that, you're good. Why? Because you don't have to pay for all the extra server time and all the extra load that these guys have to deal with, and all the extra expertise that these players have to deal with. So this has nothing to do with rank, right? What they need to do is they need to focus mostly, to make a good game, on the people that are about right here. The fall off point. But they don't care about that, because they like that fall off point, right? They like that 100% fall off point. Because the question is, why does somebody not like the game, or why are the vast majority of people gone at that point? And that's when you ask everybody along the line, you know, well, why did you leave? But then you have to ask people, why did you stay, right? To make a good game. It's all about why did you stay? What made the game just that much better that made you stay for thousands of hours? Now, what we think, what the average person thinks should happen and would happen in this instance, is if you increase the amount of people up in the bajillion hours section, So if you bring this up, it brings the curve like this. But it doesn't. Okay? That brings the curve like this. And notice how they have the exact same level of profitability, right? They actually lose more money because at a certain point, again, you're not making more cash for all this time, and you just have extra server load. It's literally just extra money that you're burning in electricity. So we're a little bit stuck with that kind of balance, unfortunately. And that's where I say Blizzard is not going to listen to us. What they're going to do is they're going to say, well, this is what we have to do to move this that way to increase the amount of people and then get rid of everybody as soon as possible. Or rinse and repeat the cycle where they leave, they pretty much have 0 hours. The game is patched to the point where they basically have 0 hours of experience, and then they have to restart the cycle all over again. And then you basically have just this infinite loop of people joining the game, playing for a little bit, spending some money, they dip off, they no longer play, game changes, basically new game, restart, they play for a little bit, spend a bit of money, they dip off, rinse and repeat. Yeah. Doster says they play Path of Exile, and they kind of do this, but in a way that's much more valuable to the player. Well, this is where game design or game industries in the past, games in the past, they expected this to always be a new set of players, right? And if you infinitely pushed players through, and I'll even point out too with private servers, you had almost zero cost to maintain the extra people that were in your game. Like actually almost zero cost to maintain those people. Why? Because other server hosts were paying for those servers. Right? People were paying for their own private servers. So you have a zero cost in terms of upkeep. And you basically have infinite free money as long as you can sell the game over and over and over again to a new market. And then any drop off is like, it doesn't matter. But because you have a live service game and you have to pay for all the maintenance and you have to pay for all the services, all of this extra time is useless. So if you can get to a high skill and play for a short period of time, that's good for you. And you'll actually note too, there's a lot of pros and new players that are in this area. They're like, I love the game. This is great. This is awesome. You know, they have a very short amount of time playing, maybe hundreds of hours instead of thousands of hours. And they're kind of just over this barrier right now. And they haven't hit this flat peak or the flat point, right? Where it's just like infinitely the same thing over and over again. So yeah, that's the unfortunate part about the game industry. It has nothing to do with skill. Nothing at all. It is 100% playtime. Skill, I bet you, never ever comes up in board meetings. Director's take, looking ahead to improvements and experiments. Hi everybody, or hi everyone, happy Friday. It's been a very exciting week and half for Overwatch 2. Season 9 champions shipped with a new improved version of our competitive system and a pretty comprehensive set of changes to the core mechanics of our game. We're incredibly invested in these changes, having a positive impact on the game, and are committed to making rapid iterations to them to make that happen. In fact, earlier this week, we made our first pass at tuning with a set of refined projectile sizes and health changes to some of our heroes. We'll keep an eye on how these play out. We'll keep an eye on how these play out to inform you of our next set of changes. Let's talk about the reworked competitive play system, which also launched with Season 9. There's been a lot of excitement around it. In fact, there's been a pretty sizable shift in our player population because of it. Because you guys finally did something again? Like, previously, quick play was the most popular model in Overwatch. It accounted for roughly 40% of the total match hours in the game, while competitive play sat around 35%. Those numbers have since shifted, and competitive play now makes up about 45% of match hours, with quick play around 32%. An interesting thing to note here is the total number of hours that people are playing quick play isn't down. This is what I was pointing out. If I brought the charts up again, this is the exact thing that I'm talking about right here. They do not care at all. Oh, I hear my birds fighting. I'm gonna have to check on them. I'll back in just a moment. They do not care a lot at all about skill. You know, they never mention it. It's all playtime. Let me just check, make sure my birds aren't fighting each other. You guys fighting? No? Okay. It's just that people are playing a lot more competitive play because you just changed it. It's a fresh change. If it's good or bad doesn't matter at all. But it might be pushing people over that barrier just a little bit. We're really excited about this and take it as a confirmation that people would like to see more changes and improvements to that side of the game, as well as systemic PvP improvements. I want to point out too, this is the guy that said League of Legends is a more competitive game than Overwatch. And I somewhat agree, but he's the designer of the fucking game. Excuse my language. He's the guy who makes it, so he's the one who's saying that it's not, I don't know. I want to get some lighting here that looks good. We're really excited about this and take it as a confirmation, yeah, people, as well as PvP improvements. Speaking of improvements, we'll be making more changes mid-Season 9 and Season 10. One of the largest will include the removal of grouping restrictions in Season 10. We'd like people to be able to play with their friends in every area of the game. However, we'd like to keep Overwatch's competitive integrity intact. Groups with a large range of skill, what we call wide groups, will only play against other wide groups. Narrow groups will be matched with other narrow groups. For most players, we think this will be a big benefit to the match quality. We will also be adding features to the competitive progress screen, such as match history and a scorecard, implementing role-specific titles, showing the rank ranges on the scoreboard, and more. See, if they did this in the first place, if they did all of this without any hero balancing at all, nobody would be complaining. There'd be complaints, but there wouldn't be any major complaints against the game. If they took the original Overwatch 1, they took 6v6 and they did all of this in 6v6, we'd be perfectly fine. Life would be good. Nobody would care. But now it's just... We're also looking into a small set of top 500 improvements, but haven't nailed down which season they'll go live yet. Dostray says they have to fix 5-stack against solo players. The thing is, they have the numbers, okay? And that it probably isn't as bad as people think it is, I'll be honest. It feels bad in the moment. It's one of those things because our brains are like wired to see more negative things. But it's probably not as bad as people say it is, even though it feels really bad in the moment. Lastly, I'd like to take a quick moment about our quick play hacked feature. The biggest goal is to help inform these types of improvements we could make to the core game. For instance, based on the first one we ran, quicker play, we're looking at making a few changes to the game. Oh no, I'm scared. We'll be increasing the speed of the push bot when he's pushing the barrier. We're implementing a speed boost out of spawn for flashpoint maps, as well as during setup for defenders. Well, setup. Okay, I'm okay with setup on hybrid escort modes. We'll also be reducing the match length of push from 10 to 8 minutes in quick play and are discussing whether to do that in competitive. One thing we did learn playing scraps a lot is if you reduce the amount of players, you should increase the speed of the bot and the payload. So I actually do like the fact that they're increasing the speed of the bot here. But I'm not so sure of the intent. Where's my camera? There we go. We've received a lot of feedback on the way we ran the first event. I'd like to take a moment to address some of it. The first question that people asked was why would we run this in mode in quick play rather than something like our experimental card, which was originally created for this purpose. The truth is the experimental card was never popular enough for us to get this type of data. You fucked up. Oh my god. See, they're like blaming the players. Like this I just see as blaming the players. Only about 18% of our players joined this queue because they don't want to design the game for free for you. They want to play a regular game. And out of those, the overwhelming majority would only play one match before going to preferred game modes. So you force a shitty game mode on people. We'd like to get longer term data and feedback. This is what I made a video about this, about them being like kings and queens. They're like, yes, we experimented. We experimented on the peasants. And the peasants didn't like being experimented on. They liked the way that they do things. And we want to change things anyways. So, the peasants, we're just going to force them to be experimented on. Ridiculous. We'd like to get longer term data and feedback on these tests, and what experimental is giving us is difficult for anyone, devs or players, to make an assessment of game-wide changes in just one match. Doster says, okay, but it was only problem for a weekend. Yeah, it's, well, the problem is the attitude. That's the problem. The problem is the attitude, right? Like, they're willing to take millions of players. And for some people, it will be fun. And for some people, it will be good, right? I know, but like, it's, like I say, the intent is good. The intent is good, and I'll even argue that the purpose is good. But the the ego in which they make these changes is the issue. Like the way they frame it. So, for example, okay, if I was maybe I'm not a main Blizzard dev, I would be like, yeah, no, I apologize and understand that the way that we ran this was disruptive to some people. People really wanted to play Overwatch. We did leave competitive open, so that was a good option, at least for those who wanted the traditional Overwatch feel inside the game. But no, this is the way he's saying it is like, literally he's saying, not everybody wanted to play the game that we wanted to put together, so let's force everybody so that we get data. Like, yeah, again, the intent and the purpose, you know, is I always say this over and over again, and for some reason I want to point out our world seems to think this is an okay thing, and I hate it. Just because you have a reason for something that is harmful, potentially harmful, okay, doesn't make it a good reason. It makes it a reason. It makes it like yes, that's you can use the data, you can use the information as like a point. That's totally fine. But having a reason doesn't make it a good reason. You know, like and they do it to us in competitive, right? They've done it to us with everything else. It's like, again, if they were like, one sec, I don't think that experimental card just don't drag enough attention. They could open the PTR again. PTR got even less people. But again, that's the point of the company, is to entice people into something. They're like, we didn't get enough people in, so, you know, it's the people's fault and we're just gonna have to force them to do it. Why not have like something like, oh, we decided that we're going to give a whole bunch of rewards for people that do this thing, right? Win 5 games in our new experimental card, and we'll give you a legendary skin, right? Because sorry about, or even two, I'll even point out in the quicker play, like, again, they could be like, we're sorry we disrupted the regular stated play. We understand that competitive is still there. But if you do wish to play it, we're actually going to reward you with some cool, and I think they did have small rewards, but it didn't feel like it's enough. It's just very, it's a, you know, all dictators have good intent, and Blizzard is our dictator, right? What about Mauga dropping a month before his official release? Was a great experience. I think the problem is that quicker play weekend was shit. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And if they do it like if they did it, if we had private servers and they drop the hero server side for other people to, anyway, I'm not. It's just really frustrating. The community would absolutely help test these things. They would help push them to the edge too, but they're just so entitled. They're so entitled to the work of others. Based on what we heard, we'll change the way we run quick play hacked events for the future. When we want to test things, we'll have a potential. There we go. See, even at the end, but they put it at the very end, right? When we want to test things that have the potential to be fairly disruptive, we'll run the mode on a separate card next to quick play. When we want to test something that's a little more moderate, we'll probably take it over to quick play, but do it for a short period of time during the week. Like, this is, I don't know why they didn't acknowledge that first. That's what pissed me off. Like, they even said here, like, yeah. Yeah. And when we, like, yeah. When we have a test that we feel has little disruption to the core game, we'll probably run it the same way we did the original. That's for this week. Yeah. Okay. So like they understand, but it's clearly not even their priority. It's just more of like, hey guys, like notice too. This is very much we me. All right, Blizzard. Can I go roast? Where was his tweet? Oh my, why? Okay, we're done. We're done with this. Done with Twitter, at least for now. I don't know where Aaron Keller's post went. It's just that attitude too fills into everything else that we do, right? Everything that the community builds and puts together. They're just like, get fucked. Get fucked. Unfortunate, but I'm at least okay at the very end. They acknowledged that it was like, this is the option that they should have put like right away. We apologize. They should just say we apologize that yeah. Dostray, I bet you the new hero is coming a month before the official release again for a weekend. That's a good idea. Like they need to do more of that. People are totally okay with that, especially when it comes to in quick play, right? Like that's kind of change. Those kind of updates are like reasonable, right? Because it's something that more people are really excited for than sorry, that's it. Yeah, it's something that people are excited for, and there's like a reason to go into it. But like a fundamental core change is really not so good. Let's take a look at the comments. Thank you for the update. Been loving the changes so far this season. For a future quick play hack event, maybe you could toggle third person. Fuck you. Fuck. These are the people. I really enjoyed the new bookmark feature for the. Okay, replay codes. Okay, this is okay. Can you consider making the OWCS replay viewer available to the public for the season for Overwatch esports? Oh Jesus, a lot of words, no real substance. I totally agree with this. Can I heart this? I can. Heart. If he wants third person, try. They want Fortnite. It's like reading a Michael Bay script by Michael Bay. Yeah. I mean, what else could we want? This is like he's literally using all the finer points of the game. He's literally listing all the finer points of the game, including entire game modes. I'm not getting what your concern is here. This is just another WAN. Like he didn't really talk about anything. Like there's a few points that he made. The level of shilling said people incapable of being critical towards certain changes. Yeah. Literally talked more about season 10 than anything else. Ignored the pain points of season 9 completely. Exactly. Which is kind of pathetic considering the actual feedback from season 9 has been quite negative. But that's what you get when you listen to those lick your boots for a living. That's kind of what's going on. Is this a reply to something? You're doing the thing where your argument comes from denouncing and thinking, calling others rather than making legitimate arguments. Things the community come able to push taking too long. Flashpoint replay simulator. Season 9 feedback is negative for a very large subset of people. But here's the problem. And we're going to bring up paint here again. I wonder how it works per role. So if I was to chart these out too. Okay, we're going to say positive. This could be negative. And then I was to split them into roles. I wonder. It might be. We'll see. So if you did tank, DPS, DPS, support, support. Okay. I wonder. I'm not declaring anything. I don't know. It's just something that probably Blizzard would only have in their stats. Okay. But I would imagine tanking, if we were to mark it, it would probably be somewhere around here. DPS for both DPS roles we'll put up here. Support I'll probably put like around here. So in total you do have a positive